Last year, we introduced this segment to day one of the summit, and I actually missed it because I wasn't here, so I'm really looking forward to it. The idea of this Elephants in the Room segment actually came from Pat and Roberta. And the thinking behind it, of course, is that there are many conversations that we should be having, but we're reluctant to have them. We're reluctant to actually talk about things. And so happily, my longtime colleagues, Kyle Ozier and Steve Burkett, are willing to take on the elephants, and they will be your provocateurs for the next couple of hours. Please join me in welcoming Kyle and Steve.
Good morning, everyone. Kyle, I just want to say it's been a pleasure working with you on this segment, and I'm really glad that you're here. You're much more clever than I am. You make it look good.
Yeah, but people listen to you, so it works out perfectly. So here we are.
This started from a conversation a few IAPAs ago about, hey, what if we were to talk about the things that people don't want to talk about?
And last year was an experiment, and now it's an element. And next year...
Yeah, next year we're going to bring in an actual elephant. We're going to ride across the stage.
Right. And then all the way to, what's the opera? Aida.
Yeah.
Thank you. Artists. Liberal.
So Kyle,
so anyway, here we are. All right, so let's just get going because we have three great elephants to bring into the room today. First, I want to introduce to you a man who has extensive experience in IP, and he will show all of us that we are wrong about what we thought IP was and what we could do with it, and what we can do with it, and what the flexibilities are worldwide. So he's worked in digital, small entertainment, theatrical, and now he works for a major studio, 20th Century Fox. So let me introduce, without further ado, Jonathan Kesson. Please welcome.
So 15 seconds. This is 15 seconds, you heard about 2 of it, of my second favorite song, Fox on the Run by the Sweet. This is of a 3-minute and 19-second long song. It's about 7.5% of the song. This will be relevant later. So I don't need to go into what IP is because this is a room full of people who have IP. You know, normally when we talk about it in the industry, you often think of it as licensed IP. I currently work for a studio when we think of renting, but everyone here has IP, whether it's a technology or a design, or even just the copyrights of your logos of your company. What we find is that IP, the key elements is that it's the result of creativity, that one has rights that one can copyright, trademark, or etc. And leasing is the process of renting IP, not buying, renting for a specific purpose for a specific amount of time. We all know what it can be. It can be something as simple as a toy. It can be a patent on a technology like HoloLens. And it can be interesting things involving, say, design. Like the Chrysler Building's design is copyrighted. If you wanted to go do a photo shoot with the Chrysler Building in the background, you would have to license the rights to use the Chrysler Building. Fair use. Fair use is the ability to use an IP without the permission of the owner. These copyrighted materials can be used under certain conditions, and here we have the definition from Merriam-Webster. Now, a lot of people believe that if you source a copyrighted material, like this Merriam-Webster entry, you're okay. You've given reference to the person who it belongs to. It's not okay. I have violated Merriam-Webster's rights by putting this on the screen. But I'm going to claim fair use, because I'm going to hit most of the conditions of fair use. First, am I making a profit? Are any of the speakers today making a profit by being here? Does this affect the potential market of the original work? Now, in the case of the likeness of Benedict Cumberbatch that I used on that second slide of one of 6 images, I don't think that Benedict Cumberbatch is going to lose Doctor Strange 2, or not be in the Avengers, or not get a Sherlock Holmes sequel, or not sell a whole lot of posters because I talked about them for a millisecond on the stage. Does the new work transform the original work? Now, I'm not transforming the original work, but I play within a couple of gray lines, you'll see. When we think of transforming a work, the best example is the Shepard Fairey Hope poster from the Obama campaign. He used the photograph that's the underlying basis of Obama without the permission of the photographer. It ended up in the courts, and he ended up winning because the poster was such a radical transformation from the original photography. Is the author presenting research findings at a non-commercial peer conference? This is a subset of education. Yes, I am, and this is the core of why I feel like I can get away with what I'm about to do today. But even within that realm, there's still restrictions. Am I using less than 10% of the whole work? That song in the beginning that you heard 2 seconds of is way underneath the 10% of the whole work, which is why I played it. Similarly, there's a common belief in academia that if you have 1 image on a slide, you're probably exposed. But if you have 6 images on a slide, and I had 6 images on a slide, we're cool. And why we care? It's very simple. We all had to sign releases as part of speakers here that grant the TEA the rights to record, distribute this, and disseminate it in perpetuity across known media. I cannot revoke this right. Oh, here's my drink. IP, the Starbucks Unicorn Frappuccino. It tastes like a unicorn pooped. But the key condition, back to this story, is I have to be sure that it meets those educational criteria or I'm in trouble. I used a song without permission, and I used a bunch of images without permission. And so I emailed the TEA to get confirmation that in fact it's going to be used for nonprofit purposes, and much more importantly, because I trust the TEA, much more importantly, that it's not going to be transferred for an entity who might use it for profit purposes. I've covered myself off. This is the key of all licensing agreements. It's trust. What happens is, no matter what's going on, we have to trust one another in our agreements because we're trusting each other with our property, we're trusting each other with legal exposure. And everything that we do in an IP licensing agreement comes down to risk versus reward. All of the speakers today are putting themselves on the line. You're going to see a lot of images on the screen, and the probable justification of most of them is going to be educational use. But when it comes down to the use of those things, have they really cleared it with everybody involved? If you had an image from Harry Potter Gringotts, do you have to clear with Universal? Do you have to clear with J.K. Rowling? If Daniel Radcliffe's in it, do you have to clear his rightnesses? The end result is we end up walking in this realm of faith because very few people actually know IP lawyers and IP law to an extent that they're going to be able to do this presentation to the level that they want. Sarah Bruno is my favorite IP lawyer out of San Francisco at Art Fox. I'm not going to hire her at her hourly rate to clear this presentation. But what happens most of the time is we don't hire IP lawyers to clear our work just for our job. For example, music rights. Before we begin, let me be very, very clear. All the anecdotes in this thing are true. I have fictionalized all of them. As much as this is the elephant in the room, none of us want to risk our relationships over the presentation of making a point. Back to music rights. So, a couple of years ago, I was at a Halloween event at a park. Let's say it was Dollywood. And let's say they had a ride based off Fast and Furious. And, okay, again, we know it's not Dollywood. We know it's not Fast and Furious. And so what happened is they had rethemed the ride, let's say as Highway to Hell for Halloween, and they were playing the AC/DC Highway to Hell song, again, not the AC/DC Highway to Hell song, over and over and over again with the ride. And I said, wow, that's a major song. How much does it cost to clear AC/DC's Highway to Hell for a month of Halloween attractions? And they said, oh, no, we don't need to clear it. It's part of our background music deal. And I said, I've been working in IP for a long time. I've worked for technology companies. I've worked for a design studio. I worked for a major studio. I'm pretty sure that's the technical definition of what a sync right is. And they're like, no, it's clear. So flash forward a couple of months to Christmas. I'm at a Christmas party, and I run into an IP lawyer I know, not Sarah Bruno. Oh, wait, let's say that it is Sarah Bruno so that you know that it's not Sarah Bruno. But this IP lawyer who is male, half the population, I turn to him and say, hey, I got a question about this Highway to Hell ride. And I tell him about it. And he turns and says, no, I'll take that case in a second. That's a slam dunk. Like, that's a complete violation. I'm going to win that 100% of the time. They have no leg to stand on. And I went, well, what would be background music then? He was like, well, if you'd had Pandora and you had an endless loop of heavy metal songs, but it didn't matter what heavy metal song, that's background music. And I said, well, does it have to be something like a streaming service? Could you have an iPod with like 100 heavy metal songs on it? It's just on random? He's like, yeah, 100 songs are probably okay. I said, 5 songs? And he went, oh, I'll take that case too. and I said, 20? And this is his actual response. He said, that's for the courts to decide. Because there is no magic number. IP likeness rights are very interpretable because we don't pass laws or write contracts that have a really specific line in the sand unless we're really precise. So let's talk about another IP right, likeness rights. We talked about Benedict Cumberbatch. Like everyone else here, I wanted to be introduced to the stage not by Kyle, who is awesome, but by Morgan Freeman. My goal would have been to be introduced by Morgan Freeman. It didn't work out, but I almost had him, not in the form of Morgan Freeman, but that my friend Josh Robert Thompson is a serious voiceover artist who is known for doing such a good Morgan Freeman that Morgan Freeman himself has said he cannot tell his own voice from Josh's imitation of it. And where this is relevant to likeness rights is Morgan Freeman got paid a gigantic amount of money in Europe because Josh did a commercial doing Morgan Freeman's voice. And the courts in Europe found that this was so close to the original, any common person could assume it's Morgan Freeman, and thus Morgan Freeman got paid out for a commercial he did not do. This is an example of a third-party right. When you have an IP agreement and then there's a third party that's involved in it. And where this comes into play is LBE rights. What we do, themed entertainment, it covers such a broad expanse of rights that it's almost impossible to grant an LBE right. Because look at this room. VR attractions, live shows, technologies, dark rides, roller coasters, escape rooms, interactive theater, dining, retail. What kind of grant of right could cover all of that? You would literally have the permissions to do everything. And this intersects with other people's rights. So let's say you had the right to use, say, the film Bodyguard to do a live show at your, and your rights weren't limited by something that it has to be within this theme park or has to be in these days. You would run into the touring musical that actually exists of The Bodyguard. You might run into a character meet and greet of The Bodyguard if anyone wanted to do that in somewhere in the world. All of these are live rights, but they all have boundaries. Similarly complex rights are things like developed IP. Most of you know this, but for those of you who don't, developed IP is IP that's developed as the result of the use of another IP. The best example I could think of is if you had, say, the Frozen ice show, massively successful. They got the rights to do an Frozen on ice thing. The thing is going around, it's making tons of money. But at the end of the run, there are all of those costumes of all of those characters. Do they belong to the guy who put on the show, or do they belong to Disney? They belong to Disney. Because the reason is, you can't take that IP that was developed for the show and then use it for another purpose. Are you going to go take the Olaf costume and do birthday parties? Are you going to go make live action videos on YouTube? And it becomes even more complicated when something like a design comes up. If someone does a conceptual design for a Frozen land at a theme park, who owns that design? What it comes down to regularly is, if we're being honest, almost everyone regularly violates IP rights. But it's a matter of degree. We are comfortable with certain expansions and use of other people's IP, but not others. And let's give some examples. This may or may not be an original oil painting done for a gallery show, which may or may not have been in Las Vegas, that was inspired by the Family Guy television show. None of us really would have a problem with this painting because of the reason, like the Shepard Fairey poster, it's an original work. The artist's okay. But what about the gallery that's marketing a Family Guy event without licensing it? How are they affecting the ability to then license a real gallery showing that's authorized? That's where it gets gray. And where does it come if the person, the gallery owner, isn't just having this painting and putting the painting for sale, but is also putting merchandise for sale? This may or may not have been a t-shirt that I may or may not have purchased at a night market in Taiwan for $1. It could be parody law, maybe. But really what it is it's a violation of both the Minions IP and Captain America's IP. I'm glad we've got evidence of this. But when we talk about it, what exactly is this affecting? I mean, is it affecting universal sales of Despicable Me merchandise? Taiwan, night market, not so much. We're all probably cool with this. If you saw my kid walking around the park tomorrow in it, you probably wouldn't say anything. I'm certain you wouldn't say, well, then maybe now. But the point is that it did affect them. I have to buy my kid a lot of stuff. I go to Universal all the time. I bought him a Despicable Me shirt that's pretty freaking awesome. Do I need to buy him another one next time I go to Universal? And then but let's talk where we jump down the rabbit hole. It's the Star Wars playset. Now, this Lily company, and yes, I am affecting their ability to have sales. Here comes the lawsuit. Has made a Star Wars playset. And it may or may not have been purchased at the Silk Road in Beijing for 80 yen. Now, is this affecting Lego? Much more so than this t-shirt, because you can probably buy this by the tens of thousands on Alibaba and stock this in your store. This is probably affecting dozens and dozens of sales. This is the equivalent of like a $30 Lego at Target that I would not have to buy if I were to give this to my kid. But again, you might be cool with it. You might go to Silk Road next time you're in Beijing. You might buy yourself a Louis Vuitton knockoff purse. But where it becomes personal is here. This is an 8 terabyte hard drive by Western Digital. It's an authentic hard drive from Western Digital. It also may or may not contain the entire conceptual design plans of a rival studio for their truly innovative park designed by people in this room. Is this cool? Is it all right that I have this? Is it all right that our studio is actually working on a theme park faster than theirs? And if there was something really great in here, I could actually get it to market faster than the creators of it? No, it's not. Ultimately, the question is, what is our responsibility? Because copyright laws are based on the belief that people who create creative work should be rewarded for that. And it encourages more creative work to be done, and ultimately makes for a better society. We all regularly come into contact with IP violations, and we have to decide whether or not we're going to support one another. As themed entertainment professionals, we're all ultimately IP holders, from the attraction designer to the technology provider to the attraction developer. We all have IP that we want to protect. To be clear, this is not the conceptual design of a park. It's a bunch of videos of my kid. But here's the point, and we're going to be ready to push play and turn up the volume on this. Even my kid knows an IP violation and what should be done.
That the name of the Star Wars said Star Wars. And now we need to make posters all over the town so we can see, wow, how this Lego who didn't know about what the symbol and the name of the Star Wars. So Star Wars will be on a poster, and then we'll go say, why did they make the wrong symbol?
Totally unprompted reaction to getting this, by the way. Ultimately, this comes down to trust. You have to trust your licensed partners. And partnerships with IP are fraught with challenges. In the remaining time, I'm going to try to speed through these things. And my 45-minute presentation is going to be done in 20. This is kind of impressive. All right, challenges. IP holders, this is a really, really important thing for people to understand. Most of you do. The IP holders may have radically different incentives from one another. When working with an IP holder, you may be working with a partner that has very different motivations and very different resources. Some organizations, like let's just talk about major studios for a second, have dedicated LBE groups, and the team comes from our space. They're LBE people, they've worked at design firms, they've worked at fabrication houses. Other people, a guy who was doing t-shirt licensing yesterday suddenly now is doing your ride or your live show. And because of that, Someone may be wanting to be involved in all aspects of it because they're a creative in the industry and they want to know from the jump what's going on. And on the other hand, there might be a lawyer who's in corporate development who's now in charge of this element, and he just wants to make sure that legal compliance has been hit. Another really important thing to understand is that there can be multiple approvers within one organization. Even if one person is the signatory that's giving you approval to do things, there may, excuse me, unicorn. There may be many influencers, from the head of the animation studio to the marketing department to the promotions department, or very commonly the creative force behind it. The director who made that sequel franchise, the guy who has the power. He may have no legal rights whatsoever of the IP that he developed for a major studio, but nobody wants to screw with him because he is the goose that's laying the multi-billion-dollar golden eggs. So another thing, so he has to be signed off on, and he has to be included in this. Another thing that's very common that everyone should really think about is what happens when people leave the IP. It's very, very common for people to go on to new jobs in this industry, from moving from one place to another. In the time that I've been at Fox, Warner, Sony, Fox, and Paramount have all had major changes in their LBE organizations. If you had an extraordinarily good relationship with one person and they've been giving you verbal approvals for months or years, and that person's gone and is replaced with a new person who has an entirely different agenda, what are you going to do? And this comes down to a key point, which is that IP holders have radically different incentives to one another dependent on their organization. If we stick with the studio example, look at where they are inside the studio. The people inside consumer products are probably driven by dollars. Probably, maybe not. On the other hand, if they're in the marketing department, they're probably driven by promotion. Maybe, maybe not. And nowhere is this more seen than the use of dormant IP, inactive IP. If a studio had the rights to, say, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and somebody came up with the idea to do a Broadway musical off the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, one studio would be like, that's fantastic. We're monetizing dormant IP. This is great. Low risk, high potential for reward. Awesome, I'm all in. Another studio would be like, why are you investing time and energy on this dormant IP? We need to promote the shows that are coming out this fall. We need to promote the movies that are coming out next year. Why are you spending time on this musical? It ultimately comes down to internal priorities and the players within it. I'm going to quickly blast through some of the criticisms of IP holders by licensees that you should all be familiar with. Lack of a consistent approval process, delays in response time, and I'm sure I'm going to get a laugh off this, unclear direction. I don't like it. But what don't you like? I don't know. It's just, well, could you just give me a direction, like more of this, less of that, more intense, more kid? Could you just maybe fully cook 3 whole ideas and just bring them back in a couple of weeks? That'd be good. Idiosyncratic return on low priorities, excessive modification, and then the one you're all familiar with, changing your mind. I know we approved it, but we've been thinking about it for a little while, and it really doesn't fit what we want to be doing with the brand right now. And then, of course, this is a recurring theme, verbal approvals. If the best example in the world would be that same Harry Potter attraction. J.K. Rowling comes through and goes, wow, this looks great. Nice job, guys. Really love it. Goes back to the office and goes, okay, those guys totally don't get it. But everyone at the studio said, J.K. Rowling came through. She's the creator of the whole thing. She said it's great. Of course we're moving forward with it. No, did you get actual approval to use those things? Because she may not be the signatory. And the key thing here is if you look at all the criticism of licensees by IP holders, they're almost identical. Lack of consistent submittal process, delays in response time, ignoring direction. Hey, we told you exactly what we were looking for and how to do this. Yeah, we just didn't want to go that route. Why? It's approved. You're ready to go. You can start building tomorrow. Yeah, we just want to sort of think that over. And idiosyncratic focus on low return activities, like we've all been there, and changing your minds. Okay, last time we had an approved concept, we all agreed that this was going to be a taco stand. How did it become a water slide? And again, verbal agreements. No, we said this in the meeting. The key thing here is it's the same criticisms. And this is probably the single most important thing I've always wanted to say on a TA stage. My favorite thing by far about all of you is that we're all on the same team. I love this industry so much because we win-win together. When an attraction comes, and all the TEA award winners that are going to be tomorrow are a perfect example of this, but also just the little things that get built. Like, it's the fabricator and the designer and the developer and the AV company and everybody in between. Like, we all work together. We're almost rarely in head-to-head competition with each other. This isn't the movie industry. We're not stabbing each other in the back. This is a great opportunity, and IP licensing is the best example of this in the world. We want the same thing. We want to show up and see something amazing that has our names on it so that our kids and our friends and everyone else can enjoy it. We're going to run out of time, but just to blast through some best practices. Number 1, 2, and 3, grow the relationship. Get to know each other. Go have beers, go have lunch, listen to each other's priorities. Understand your priorities because maybe you can make a deal. If the developer has to get this thing open by the summer, because that's where all their revenue comes from for the year, we know that's a priority. Maybe the studio that's licensed you the mega franchise has to get it right because they're not going to get to reuse the IP for other purposes unless your version is great. Maybe you can come to an agreement. We'll do better quality work, and the studio in return will do everything in its power to make you hit your date. Align your incentives. And then a key thing, understand your IP before you design. Last anecdote. Let's say, hypothetically, you are in charge of an IP, and that IP is Star Wars. And prior to Disney taking over Star Wars, again, this is entirely fictional, one last mega ride was agreed, a $200 million dark ride at Silver Dollar City. But what happens is, the IP license is for the original 3 movies, 4, 5, and 6. And they hire the best design firm they can get, design firm X. I'm not even going to put a name on this one. And design firm X comes and talks to you, the licensee, and says, hey, we're going to do our presentation on the concept for this ride in 3 months on May 1st. And you go, hey, before you do this whole presentation, can you just tell me what you're going to do? We got to make sure this is all clear. No. We're going to wow you. We're going to come in with all the bells, all the whistles. It's going to be awesome. And you as the IP holder are going to go, but what if you're off the mark? What if it doesn't get approved? You need to open this ride in 2 years, and you're going to spend 3 months on a concept design that might not get approved. No, trust us. By doing this in great detail, we're going to get this approved. So they come in, the whole shebang. They've got storyboards, they've got awesome art, they've got a fly-through, and they've got a guy on the stage who can sell. And then they come in and propose, make up the following, that the concept of their idea, and let's just say for the sake of argument, it is literally the best theme park ride in the history of theme park rides, not hyperbole. We all sit there and go, this is literally the best theme park ride in the history of theme park rides. And that person turns around and says, here's our concept. Luke Skywalker gets the Millennium Falcon, goes through a wormhole, goes back, gets Anakin, young Darth Vader, and the two of them travel to the future to Rogue One, and they're part of the Rogue One victory. And then they come back together, and they have a party, and everything's happy. That ride can never be approved. You as the IP holder will raise your hand 30 seconds into it and say you can just stop. Because you don't have the rights to the second 3 movies. You also don't have the rights to Rogue One. It's dead. And so you can't even move forward with this. It's not even worth talking about. And then what'll happen 10 times out of 10 is the designer will go, well, why can't you just give them to us? You can't. You just can't. Disney has the rights. You can't provide those things. But even if you could, it's irrelevant. Because there is no time travel in Star Wars. The person doesn't understand the IP at all and has made a dramatically huge mistake because this can't be going because it breaks the brand guidelines. And all of that could have been avoided with one frickin' phone call. And just saying, hey, so we got this really great idea. Just to check, we're going to go and it's a time travel machine. You can't do it. It would have saved everyone 3 months and tens of thousands of dollars in art. The key thing, again and again and again, is share as early as possible. Define your process. Build in your contractual turnaround times. Create a standard process for approval so everyone knows what it looks like. So when J.K. Rowling says it's approved, you know you still need the sign off. And include all of the stakeholders and the relationships. I know there's so many good ideas from so many different places in our industry. That fabrication guy has seen a lot. You know, that AV person knows a whole lot of technical things. That master planner is going to anticipate stuff you never even thought of. And if you can get everybody in the room and just sort of share your thoughts, you're going to be so far ahead. We are on a team. Teams are based on trust. And IP partnerships, like everything else in this industry, have an opportunity to be win-win if we work with each other. Thank you so much. You have time? Okay. Okay. Oh, all the way in the back.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, person in the back.
Michael here in the back. My question is about IPs, I guess, that are not property anymore, that are in public domain. You know, like Peter Pan. Nothing has stopped. Was it Universal or Warner Brothers from making a movie based on Peter Pan? It was called Pan. I can't imagine anybody in here saw it. But my question, so there isn't anything stopping, for example, Universal from making a Peter Pan ride. They could, but they wouldn't.
Like, and I don't claim to be an IP lawyer on this. Disney has very successfully sued a number of instances that are like Peter Pan Pizza, or Snow White Dry Cleaners was an actual thing that was sued by. And by making that Peter Pan film, they have copyrighted a whole lot of things. Like if you made the Pan in the live action version looks nothing like the Peter Pan of the movie. Like their Tinkerbell looks nothing like they're being very clear because there is the public domain book, but everything that we associate with Peter Pan, the brand of Disney, belongs to Disney. And the title, Peter Pan, I would bet any amount of money is copyrighted by Disney and that you couldn't use it, and that's why the thing was called Pan.
Fascinating. So yeah, I was going to ask
Cool.
just about the idea of IPs versus things that aren't legally protected, but that companies maybe just wouldn't do anyway. Like, for example, Tony Baxter once explained to me that Disney owns pirates.
Mm-hmm.
They don't legally own pirates, but they own the concept of pirates in everybody's mind. So no other parks would ever attempt to do a pirate's ride. And I just wanted to know your thoughts on
Okay, so first off, Tony Baxter is a genius, and I feel very weak challenging him on the stage, but I feel certain that there's other pirate rides in the world without being able to name them. Genre is a standard way of avoiding IP, ninjas, astronauts, robots. No other major competitor of Disney like Universal would walk into that lane, but I feel very confident that generic brand theme park in Europe or Asia or South America or Texas would feel very comfortable.
Even Texas.
No, Texas is awesome. Like, let me be very, very clear. I am pro-Texas. But my point being, when I was saying even Texas, I was saying even somebody in our country in a first-tier market, like, might go for it because they're far enough. I don't think somebody would make a major Pirates ride in Orlando or Anaheim, but Sacramento. All right, thanks, everybody.
Okay, Jonathan will be back at the end of the session. Thank you, Jonathan. Great.